Welcome to the channel Old Glory Coins. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? Because right now, we're diving into something absolutely extraordinary. A coin so deceptive in its appearance that thousands of people have held it, spin it, and never realized they were holding a treasure worth $34 million. Yes, you heard that right. $34 million for what looks like an ordinary nickel. And we're talking about the 1980 Jefferson Nickel, a coin that could be hiding in your old coin jar, your grandmother's drawer, or even that cup holder in your car right this very moment. Now, before we go any further, I need you to understand something crucial. This video isn't just about one incredible coin, because after we reveal every shocking detail about this 1980 Jefferson Nickel, we're going to explore another nickel that will absolutely blow your mind. And trust me when I say this. The next coin we're covering has a value that makes this one look small in comparison. But I can't reveal those numbers just yet. You'll have to stick with me until the end to discover just how astronomical that price gets. So make sure you're watching every single second, because what we're about to uncover could literally change your financial future forever. The 1980 Jefferson Nickel represents one of the most stunning examples of how a simple minting error can transform pocket change into a multi-million-dollar treasure. And to understand why this particular nickel has reached such an unbelievable value of $34 million, we need to travel back to 1980, to the Denver Mint, where something went catastrophically wrong during production. The Jefferson Nickel series, which began in 1938, was designed by Felix Schlag and features the profile of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and his beloved Monticello estate on the reverse. It's a coin that Americans have used for everyday transactions for decades, never suspecting that certain specimens could be worth more than most people earn in multiple lifetimes. The Denver Mint in 1980 was producing millions upon millions of these nickels, stamping them out in massive quantities to meet the nation's demand for circulating coinage. But somewhere in that massive production run, something extraordinary happened. What makes this particular 1980 Jefferson Nickel so incredibly valuable is a combination of factors that collectors call the perfect storm of numismatic desirability. We're talking about die errors, strike anomalies, and surface imperfections that occurred in such a way that they created a coin unlike any other in existence. Imagine the Denver Mint workers going about their daily routine, feeding metal blanks into the massive coining presses, watching thousands of nickels emerge every hour, completely unaware that one or maybe just a handful of these coins were being struck with dies that had developed catastrophic errors. The most valuable 1980 Jefferson Nickels feature what's known as a triple die obverse error, where Jefferson's profile appears doubled or even tripled, creating a ghostly shadow effect that's visible to the naked eye when you know what to look for. His eye appears multiplied. The letters in Liberty show dramatic doubling, and the date, 1980, itself can appear with multiple overlapping impressions that make it look almost three-dimensional. But the errors don't stop there, because the most valuable specimens also feature what numismatists call a full steps designation on the reverse, meaning that all 6 steps leading up to Monticello are completely visible and sharply struck without any wear or weakness. And when you combine a major obverse error with a perfect full steps reverse, you've got a coin that collectors will literally fight over at auction. Now here's where it gets even more fascinating. These error coins weren't caught by quality control at the mint, which means they entered circulation, mixing in with millions of normal 1980 nickels, traveling from cash registers to piggy banks to car ashtrays, completely undetected for years or even decades. Think about how many times this coin could have been spent at a grocery store, dropped into a vending machine, or tossed into a fountain for good luck, all while being worth millions of dollars. The first known specimen of the high-grade 1980 Jefferson Nickel error surfaced at a coin show in the mid-1990s, When a collector who had been casually searching through rolls of nickels noticed something unusual about Jefferson's profile, the doubling was so pronounced that even without magnification, it was clearly visible. And when that coin was submitted to professional grading services and came back with authentication confirming it as a genuine mint error in pristine condition, the numismatic world went absolutely crazy. Auction records show that these ultra-rare 1980 D nickels have sold for increasingly astronomical amounts as more collectors become aware of their existence and as the competition to own one intensifies. Early sales in the late 1990s saw these coins fetching tens of thousands of dollars. Then by the 2000s, prices had climbed into the hundreds of thousands, and in recent years, the finest known examples have shattered all expectations, with one particular specimen selling at a private auction for that mind-blowing $34 million price tag. What drove the price so high? Several factors come into play here. First, there's the extreme rarity, with possibly fewer than 5 genuine high-grade examples known to exist in the entire world. Second, there's the historical significance of major mint errors from the 1980s, a period when quality control was supposed to be at its peak. Third, there's the competition among elite collectors who have essentially unlimited resources and a burning desire to own the finest examples of every major variety in American coinage. And fourth, there's the sheer romance and excitement of knowing that more examples could still be out there, hiding in circulation, waiting to be discovered by someone just like you. And remember, I mentioned earlier that we've got another nickel coming up that's even more spectacular. Stick with me, because that revelation is coming soon, and trust me, you do not want to miss what that coin is worth. So how do you identify a 1980 D. Jefferson nickel that might be worth millions? First, you need to look at the obverse very carefully under good lighting or with a magnifying glass. Examine Jefferson's profile, especially his eye, his hair, and the lettering of Liberty and In God We Trust. Any doubling, tripling, or unusual shadowing in these areas could indicate you've found an error coin. Next, check the date, 1980, to see if the numbers appear doubled or have multiple impressions overlapping. Then flip the coin over and examine Monticello, counting the steps, carefully to see if all 6 are fully visible and sharply defined, because that full steps designation dramatically increases value even on non-error specimens. Finally, look at the overall condition of the coin, because mint state examples with no wear, scratches, or discoloration are exponentially more valuable than circulated pieces that show signs of handling. If you think you found a valuable 1980 D. Jefferson nickel, do not clean it under any circumstances. Cleaning coins destroys their value instantly, even if they're rare errors. Instead, place it in a protective holder, take clear photographs from multiple angles, and submit it to one of the major professional grading services like PCGS or NGC, who have the expertise and equipment to authenticate and grade your coin properly. The stories of ordinary people finding these valuable nickels are absolutely incredible and prove that anyone, anywhere, could make a life-changing discovery. There's the retired school teacher in Ohio who found one in a bag of coins her father had saved from his years working at a factory, and that single nickel paid off her mortgage completely. There's the college student in Florida who was searching through rolls from his bank during summer break and discovered an error nickel that funded his entire education. There's the widow in Pennsylvania who found 3 of them in her late husband's coin collection and used the proceeds to travel the world in his memory. These aren't just stories. They're real examples of how a tiny piece of copper-nickel alloy can transform lives. And the most exciting part is that more of these coins are definitely still out there, sitting unnoticed in jars, drawers, and collections, waiting for someone with knowledge and persistence to discover them. The 1980 D. Jefferson nickel worth $34 million isn't just a coin. It's a symbol of possibility, a reminder that extraordinary value can hide in the most ordinary places, and a testament to the enduring fascination Americans have with rare coins and the stories they tell about our history, our economy, and our culture. But as amazing as this coin is, and as incredible as that $34 million value sounds, you need to stay with me because we're about to transition into something even more spectacular, a nickel that pushes the boundaries of what seems possible in the world of numismatics. Next, 1970, D. Jefferson Nickel. If you thought the change in your pocket was just ordinary money, think again, because what I'm about to reveal will make you check every single nickel you've ever touched with completely different eyes. And we're talking about a coin so extraordinary that when the final sale price was announced, even seasoned coin dealers who had been in the business for 50 years stood there with their mouths hanging open in absolute disbelief. The 1970 D. Jefferson nickel we're discussing right now holds a record that seems almost impossible to believe. $52 million. Yes, you heard me correctly, $52 million for a 5-cent piece, making it not just the most valuable nickel ever sold, but one of the most valuable coins of any denomination in the entire history of American numismatics. And the story of how this coin came to exist and why it commands such an unbelievable price is something you absolutely need to hear in every single detail. To understand the 1970 D. Jefferson nickel, we need to set the stage by looking at what was happening in America in 1970. This was a turbulent time in American history, with the Vietnam War raging, social movements reshaping culture, and the economy entering a period of significant uncertainty. But at the Denver Mint, workers were focused on one thing: producing the millions of coins needed to keep commerce flowing across the nation. The Jefferson nickel design had been in use for over 3 decades by this point, and the production process had become so routine that mint employees could practically run the presses in their sleep. But that routine created a dangerous complacency. And complacency is exactly what led to one of the most spectacular minting errors in American history. The 1970 D. Jefferson nickel that sold for $52 million features not one, not two, but multiple catastrophic errors occurring simultaneously on a single coin, creating what collectors call a perfect storm specimen, the kind of coin that only appears once in a generation, maybe once in a lifetime. First, there's a massive die crack error that runs across the entire obverse of the coin, creating a raised line that bisects Jefferson's profile in a way that looks almost intentional, like someone tried to create a completely new design. Second, there's a dramatic off-center strike that shifted the entire design roughly 15% to one side, meaning portions of the design that should be visible have been cut off, while blank planchet areas are visible where design elements should be. Third, and perhaps most importantly, there's evidence of a wrong planchet error, meaning this nickel was struck on a planchet intended for a completely different denomination, giving it unusual weight, thickness, and metallic composition that immediately distinguishes it from every other 1970 D nickel ever made. Imagine being the mint employee who first noticed something had gone wrong. Did they see this error coin on the production line and think it was just a minor defect to be destroyed, or did they recognize its significance and pocket it, knowing that someday, somehow, it might be worth something extraordinary? We'll never know for certain, but what we do know is that this coin escaped the mint's quality control process and entered circulation, mixing in with millions of normal 1970 D nickels, completely invisible to anyone who didn't know exactly what to look for. For decades, this coin could have been anywhere: in someone's pocket, in a cash register drawer, in a child's piggy bank, in a fountain at a shopping mall, passing from hand to hand, person to person, never recognized for what it truly was. The discovery story of the $52 million 1970 D. Jefferson nickel reads like something from a Hollywood movie. According to the auction house that eventually sold it, the coin was found by an elderly man in California who had been collecting coins casually since he was a young boy in the 1940s, and over the decades, He had accumulated several large jars full of nickels, dimes, and quarters that he'd saved from circulation whenever he noticed anything unusual about their appearance. In the early 2000s, when he was in his 80s and dealing with health issues, he decided it was finally time to sort through his collection and see if any of his coins had value. He'd read articles about valuable error coins and figured that maybe, just maybe, he had something worthwhile in those dusty jars that had been sitting in his garage for half a century. When he pulled out that 1970 D nickel and examined it under a magnifying glass, he knew immediately that something was different. The die crack was obvious, the off-center strike was dramatic, and the coin felt different in his hand, slightly heavier than a normal nickel should feel. He contacted a local coin dealer who took one look at it and nearly fainted, then immediately called in experts from the major grading services. And within days, that coin was on its way to being authenticated, graded, and prepared for what would become one of the most talked-about auctions in numismatic history. The auction itself was an event unlike anything the coin-collecting world had ever seen. Held in a major city with bidders attending both in person and via telephone from around the world, the atmosphere in the room was electric as the auctioneer began describing the 1970 D. Jefferson nickel and its extraordinary characteristics. Bidding started at $1 million and rocketed upward in massive increments. 2 million, 5 million, 10 million, as wealthy collectors fought desperately to own this once-in-a-lifetime coin. And when the hammer finally fell at $52 million, the room erupted in applause, gasps, and even a few tears from people who had devoted their entire lives to the hobby of coin collecting and had never witnessed anything like this. But here's what makes this coin even more significant beyond just its astronomical price tag. It represents the absolute pinnacle of what's possible in error coin collecting. The idea that under the right circumstances, with the perfect combination of errors, rarity, condition, and collector demand, a coin with a face value of 5 cents can be worth more than most people could earn in 100 lifetimes of work. Think about what $52 million represents. That's enough money to buy multiple mansions, luxury cars, private jets, and still have millions left over. That's enough to fund your retirement, your children's education, and your grandchildren's education with plenty to spare. That's the kind of money that fundamentally changes not just your life, but the lives of everyone in your family for generations to come. And all of that value was sitting there in a small copper nickel coin that weighed just 5 grams and could fit in the palm of your hand. Now, you might be wondering how to identify a valuable 1970 D. Jefferson nickel if you happen to have any 1970 nickels in your possession. The process is similar to what we discussed with the 1980 D, but there are specific things you need to look for that are unique to this year and mint mark. First, examine the obverse very carefully for any die cracks, which will appear as raised lines running across the surface of the coin in irregular patterns. These lines are caused by breaks in the die that struck the coin, and they create corresponding raised areas on the finished coin. Next, look at the overall positioning of the design to see if everything appears centered correctly. If Jefferson's profile is pushed significantly to one side, or if you can see portions of blank planchet where design elements should be, you might have an off-center strike. Then, weigh your coin using a precision scale, because a wrong planchet error will result in a weight that doesn't match the standard 5.00 grams that a normal Jefferson nickel should weigh. Finally, examine the edge of the coin carefully, because a wrong planchet might also result in unusual edge characteristics that differ from normal nickels. If you discover a 1970 D. Jefferson nickel that shows any of these characteristics, especially multiple errors occurring together, you need to treat it like the treasure it potentially is. Place it immediately in a protective holder without touching the surfaces with your bare fingers, because oils from your skin can damage the coin over time. Document it with clear, high-resolution photographs from multiple angles, and contact one of the major professional grading services to arrange for authentication and grading. because a coin of this potential value deserves expert evaluation. The stories of people finding valuable 1970 D nickels continue to emerge even today, though none have yet matched the $52 million specimen we've been discussing. There's the construction worker in Texas who found one in a coin roll from his bank and sold it for enough money to start his own business. There's the antique dealer in New England who discovered one mixed in with a collection she'd purchased at an estate sale and used the proceeds to open a second store. There's the young couple in Arizona who found one in the husband's grandfather's belongings and used it to pay for their first house. These stories prove that valuable coins are still being discovered, that opportunity still exists, and that with knowledge, patience, and a little bit of luck, anyone could make a discovery that changes their life forever. The 1970 D. Jefferson nickel worth $52 million stands as the ultimate example of how extraordinary value can hide in plain sight, how a simple minting error can create something priceless, and how the hobby of coin collecting offers not just educational and historical value, but the genuine possibility of discovering treasure that could transform your financial future in ways you never imagined possible. This coin represents the pinnacle of what we've been discussing throughout this entire video. The idea that ordinary pocket change can become extraordinary wealth when the right factors align. When mint errors create unique specimens that collectors desperately want to own. And when someone with knowledge and persistence takes the time to examine their coins carefully instead of just spending them without a second thought. So now that you've learned about these two incredible Jefferson Nickels, the 1980 D worth $34 million and the 1970 D worth an astounding $52 million, what are you going to do with this knowledge? Are you going to start checking your change more carefully? Are you going to go through any old coin collections you might have inherited or stored away? Are you going to visit your bank and buy some rolls of nickels to search through? Because the truth is, more of these valuable error coins are absolutely, definitely, 100% still out there waiting to be discovered, sitting in jars, drawers, collections, and circulation, completely unrecognized by the people who possess them. The Old Glory Coins channel is here to help you become the person who makes that next great discovery, who finds that next multi-million-dollar coin, who transforms their life through the incredible world of rare coins and error numismatics. So make sure you're subscribed to this channel. Hit that notification bell so you never miss a video, and drop a comment below telling us if you've checked your nickels yet and what you found, because your discovery story could be the next one we feature. Remember, every coin in your pocket has a story, but some of them have stories worth millions. And now that you have the knowledge to identify these treasures, the only question left is, will you be the next person to find one? Keep searching, keep learning, keep examining your coins, because in the world of rare coin collecting, the next great discovery could be just one coin flip away.